Can everyone see the slide?
Yes.
Okay, nice. So this is our first class, and we're going to talk about what is psychology and what is mental health. So to begin with, based on the requirement of the university, I will be delivering this lecture based on in English, and I will also underline some key points in Chinese to make myself clear and to make you understand. Okay? Is my speed of speaking, is it comfortable for you, or should I speak slower or quicker?
It's fine for me.
It is fine?
It's fine.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. Okay. So first, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Lu Lingshan, and I'm the teacher from the Student Mental Health Education Center in Changsha University of Science and Technology. Okay, this picture is I took it from like several years ago. It's when I was in college, so it's younger. And my first degree was not psychology. I studied Japanese culture when I was an undergraduate student. And I developed my interest in psychology when I went to Japan. And then I went to the UK, study psychology. And this is my email address. If you have some questions, welcome to contact me. So now I'd like to, all of you, scan the QR code on the screen and enter the group chat. I'm going to share all the homework, other documents in this group, so it's very important. So all of you, please enter this QQ group chat, okay?
But we don't have QQ.
Can we make WeChat group, because QQ is not comfortable us, and we don't have QQ.
Oh, so you don't use QQ? So
yeah, most of students don't have the QQ account, so it's better you can communicate with WeChat.
WeChat, okay. Is there some like lecture assistant in your class? 有没有就是心理委员或者是课代表之类的啊？Some student, is there one student that can contact all of you?
有。
Okay. So I will send my so this is my WeChat account. So the student who is the class manager, please contact me and WeChat group.
Okay.
So we are not going to use this QQ group. Instead,
WeChat group.
We will create a chat group. Okay.
Can someone just create a group and add all of us?
Okay.
Because we are combined.
Yeah, come out.
Yeah.
Come out. Yeah, come out.
Yes.
Create a group and you send the code because we are combined. So
Okay.
then,
Okay. Let me do.
Okay. Now this is our indicative course content. This is our timetable for this course. And today we are going to talk about psychology and mental health. And the next week we are going to talk about knowing myself. And then is understanding emotion, stress management, relationship and communication. The relationship which includes a relationship with your family, your friends, and intimate relationship. And then is learning and time management. And then I will talk about some common mental illness. So in our last class, there was some group presentation. In this class, I will going to divide you into some groups. You yourself decided which group you are in. I'm not going to distribute you. So I will talk about this later. It's kind of a homework. So this week, the homework is to you create some group and send me which is the group leader and who are the group members. Okay.
All right.
So, as a pursuer in the field of psychology, I encounter so many questions like, "Oh, you are a psychologist, so now I bet you are able to read my mind." Psychology doesn't enable people to read minds, but now I'm going to do a kind of trick, magic, to see if I can really read your mind. Okay. So now we are going to do a little bit magic.
老师,
Now, okay? 怎么了?
before that, can you please accept my WeChat invitation so I add you to the group?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we are going to carry on our class. Now, there are 6 poker cards, right? So now I'd like to...
Yeah, Laushi, I have already created a group for this class.
Can everyone be
Please,
quiet?
add me.
Just close, just shut down the microphone, please. Oh, 谁是主持人？主持人可以静音一下吗？
是我。
请把所有人都静音，好吧？然后
好。对不起，等一下，我看一下。好的。
Now I'd like to select one card and remember it. Okay.
Okay.
Now, 3, 2, 1. Now one card is disappeared, and that is the card which you remembered.
Oh my God. Okay.
So it's a magic, right? So I guess what's in your mind. But have everyone just worked out what the trick is? All the cards have changed. Yeah.
Yes.
So the trick is, when I said you remembered one card and all your attention just focused on one card. And when our attention just focused on one item, we are kind of just neglect the other things, the environment, right? So if you find someone like psychologist, he or she can read your mind. It's not like she really have the ability. It's that she or he knows the principles of human mind. So that is what psychology is about. To research and study the principle of human mind. Okay. So the part 1 is we are going to talk about what is psychology. Speaking of psychology, what kind of things can you think of? There are many things, many interesting things, right? Like microexpression. There's a very famous series, Lie to Me, and hypnosis, mental illness. These are the interesting parts when we speaking of psychology, we can easily think of. So what psychology exactly is? It's the scientific study of human mind and behavior. The word psychology derives from Greek. So it can be divided into 2 points. One is psyche, which means soul, 灵魂. The other is logia, which means research, 研究. So literally, psychology means the research on our soul. But our soul is it's not a concrete thing that we can do some research, right? And the things that we can actually do scientific research is human behaviors, because we can see them, we can measure them, we can do some research experiment on them. So the questions that psychology wants to answer is, first is what? What are human behaviors? And the second is why? What influences human behavior? What are influencing factors of human behavior? What contributes to human behavior? And the third is, how do we shape and change human behavior? The last one is the most important question, right? Because it can directly change the human society. And is the ultimate goal of the study of psychology, to make human better. So what are human behaviors? The psychology approach human behaviors in 2 approaches. The first is the common human behavior, like the daily behavior we usually do, normal people do. So psychology defines human behaviors as human response to external or internal stimulus situation. And the other approach is atypical human behaviors, like mental illness, schizophrenia, stress, dementia, depression. And what influences human behavior? There is a continuing debate in psychology, is nature and nurture. So the natural and nurture. So the nature is like genes, our brain, the things that we inherited from our parents, our family. And other is nurture. It's like the upbringing method that our parents and our personal experiences when we interact with our environment. 好，那么这里呢是说到，那么人类行为关于它是怎么样产生的。那么在心理学当中呢，有一个非常有名的这样一个辩论是，那么人类行为究竟是更多来源于天生的，还是更多来源于后天产生的？天生就是 unnatural， 后天就是 nurture， 对吧？那么天生的它包括有遗传，有基因的作用那么后天的，那么就是我们父母的养育方式和我们自己的成长的经历。好，那么有哪样一些因素是先天的成分更大的呢？比如说我们一个人的性格personality。那么我们内向和外向的程度introverted or extroverted. Is a person outgoing or shy? This is mostly dependent on the nature, our genes. 所以这个部分呢，更多是来源于先天部分的影响，我们内向外向的程度。那么还有一个呢，是规律性。比如说有人他可能更希望自己的生活安排的井井有条，他的生活更有计划。If someone he or she would like to plan his or her life and make strict timetable, or if someone just be open to like immediate changes. And this trait is also mostly based on the nature, influenced by nature. 好，那么后天的话是什么样的东西来形成的呢？后天比如说一个人坚强的程度，然后像一个人他面对这种很多情绪的事件的时候，那么他内心的这个承受的能力，其实有更大一部分是后天所产生的。So how do we shape human behavior? 怎么样去改变人类的行为？So physical intervention is very important as one approach. Intervention on physical body like drugs, physical exercise, brain surgery. 那么这个部分呢，更多是生理心理学所研究的内容。他认为人类行为很多是源于我们的基因、我们的大脑、我们的神经系统，所以尤其是像有心理障碍的人群，像抑郁症depression, people with depression, depression disorder, and the reason for it mostly is physical reasons, like the neurotransmitter. A typical neurotransmitter. So to cure depression, we mostly use drugs. We take medication, medication. Physical exercise, like you're doing jogging, you're doing some other sports, it can help us to alleviate our negative emotion. And then will change our behavior. And brain surgery, 这是大脑的手术。有一些这种得了精神障碍的人，他很多时候是可能大脑结构某个部分发生病变，所以需要进行一些脑部的手术，可以帮助他们康复。And training, repeated exercise with designed reinforcements and punishments. 行为习惯的养成需要练习，对吧 ？Training 练习。那么它需要经年累月的，我们去重复做一件事情。那么在这个过程当中，我们人会懒惰，对不对？我们会拖延 procrastination We'll be lazy, so we'll need some designed reinforcement and punishments. Reinforcement 奖励强化 punishment 惩罚。那么这个更多是行为主义的观点认为通过这种奖励和惩罚的方式这样的重复，建立一种条件的反射去塑造人类的行为。And then relationship. So a good relationship can give us love, the sense of security, support, can make us be more responsible. But also, a toxic relationship, a bad relationship, can make us feel insecure and can even drive us crazy, drive us mad. 有很多的这种心理上的障碍，它都是来源于一段不好的关系。那么在一段不好的关系当中，那么可能会让人去质疑自我的价值去损害人的尊严。那么一段好的关系呢，那么它可以让人更加的去认识到自己他是值得被爱的所以这是好的关系和不好的关系。那么对人的行为，对于人的自我认知也会造成非常重要的影响。Environment. So, we are all living in human society. So the culture, the social norms, our community, the shared standards, shared values, will influence our behavior heavily 那么我们所处的环境在不同的文化当中我们这种对于行为的要求、行为的标准，什么是好的行为，什么是坏的行为，也会很不一样Motivation, like desire, needs, emotions, goals. 那么 motivation 意思就是我们的动机，我们做一件事情推动我们去做它的动机。通过改变我们的动机，也可以去改变我们的行为。Value, beliefs, values, attitudes. 我们对待一件事情的态度，我们的信仰我们相信什么我们的思维方式这个也是对我们的行为会有直接的影响。那么心理学就是通过研究这种不同的physical intervention, training, relationship environment, value, motivation 这样不同的方式，然后去研究我们怎么样具体的去改变人类的行为。So 有很多的学科它都会去研究人类行为。There are many other subjects that study human behavior, like sociology, like economics. But they all study human behavior in a specific area. Like sociology, it studies the social behavior and our behavior in a society and interact with others. And the economics, it studies our economic behavior, 包括人类的消费行为，我们的经济行为。但是呢，心理学它更多的研究的是一般的规律。Psychology studies the general principle of human behavior. So it approaches human behavior in many themes. And the themes of psychology include 认知 cognition, sensation cognition, emotion, thoughts. 我们生理physical body like brain, neural system, genes, and 人格 personality so includes like intelligence, ability, and the society, group, culture, media, and the application of psychology in many other areas. Okay, the sub-areas of psychology includes what we have said, 生理心理学 it studies 神经系统 a neural system 激素大脑 brain 认知心理学 cognitive psychology 感觉 sensation 感觉知觉 cognition 记忆 memory 语言 language 学习 learning 发展心理学developmental psychology it studies our development in different ages like adolescent psychology and the psychology of elder people senior citizens 不同阶段的心理发展 and then it's clinical health psychology or counseling psychology. It refers to the diagnosis and treatment of mental illness and the psychological counseling. And social psychology, it studies the relationship between individual and groups. 个体和群体之间的关系 individual 群体 group 包括从众心理团体心理文化心理人格心理学personality personality different kinds of personality and how to measure them There's applied psychology, like education psychology, industrial psychology, law psychology, and art psychology. 几乎所有的领域，它都可以跟心理学结合在一起。好，这是关于心理学是什么。好，那么我们来看一下，心理健康它究竟又是什么呢？What is mental health？心理健康。So there are many myths about mental health, like is mental health without mental disease? If a person is without mental disease, is it health? Not exactly, right?
Yes.
If we call a person is always have positive emotions, is he health? Is he healthy or not?
Maybe.
If he or she is always within a positive emotion and never show any sign of negative emotion, and that's the problem, right? 并不是好的情绪，并不是 positive emotion 一定是 healthy 的。好，如果一个人他永远只表现出这个好的情绪，而没有表现出负面的任何负面情绪，这反而说明这是有问题的。因为人的情绪它是会上下浮动，这是非常正常的一件事情。If someone acts weird, is he or she unhealthy? Not exactly. Yeah. So mental health is not act like everybody else. Is mental health fit social norms? Like the standards of mental health, of course, is influenced by society, is influenced by culture. But not exactly is the same mental health and fit social norms. Oh, okay, I see the comment. We're not good at Chinese. Okay. Is the Chinese I said earlier is difficult to understand? I'm not very sure. It's my first time to teach foreign students.
Not really. I could grab some things, but not everything. So maybe the English is much convenient. So maybe we could speak to
okay, okay. I see. Okay. I will try my best to deliver all the things in English.
Okay.
And I will use simple Chinese to underline some key points, okay?
Yes, that's okay.
So what is health? Health is a very complicated concept. It's difficult to define and measure. And personal thresholds are important. There is not a universal standard for measuring health. It's very difficult. And health is not simply the absence of illness, injury, or pain. Health and illness is like on a continuum, in a spectrum. And there is a very famous model for health. It's called Bio-Psychosocial model of health. So we can see mental health is the integration of both biological health, social health, and psychological health. The network is kind of not working right now. Just wait a minute, please, okay? I'm going to check my network. Sorry for the break, I'm back. Okay. We're going to continue and talk about the biopsychosocial model of health. It's kind of like a blueprint for research, a framework for teaching, and a design for action in the real world of healthcare. So we can see the biological health is like a physical health, genetic vulnerabilities. It means if you are vulnerable to, sometimes we are more vulnerable to depression. And it is more based on our genes. Like some people are more easier to have depression than others. And that is called genetic vulnerabilities. And that is one reason that can cause the depression. And psychological reasons like self-esteem, social skills, coping skills, and also the social can lead to, can influence our mental health, like our family, like peers and school. Okay, there's also a systems approach. It is called ecological system theory. It can help us to recognize and explain individual outcomes, which are shaped by external opportunities and macro influences. So this is a very useful approach and mostly used in developmental psychology. Developmental psychology defines human behavior as the interaction between genes and our environment. And the environment can be divided into many layers. Like the first layer is our individual, like our genes, our brain, and ourself, our own thinking, thoughts, feeling. It is the first layer of system. And then is the microsystem. And a mesosystem, like our immediate family, our friends, our school peers, and neighborhood. And then is the exosystem, like our extended family, workplace, community health services. And then is the macrosystem. This is the this is the biggest layer of system, like our country customs, values, laws, and all these different kinds of layers of system. They will influence our behavior, our feeling in different kinds of way. We can consider the system to understand many different kinds of behaviors. We'll take adolescent smoking uptake as an example. So the microsystem is like if a parent smokes, and we are likely to increase the possibility of that adolescent smoking. It's a direct influence, right? And it's the mesosystem, like the wider peer group smoke. If your friends and most people in your school, they smoke, and just to increase the possibilities that you smoke. And the exosystem, like the ease of purchase from local shop. If the country doesn't have strict limits of teenagers buying cigarettes, so it will increase the possibility of adolescent smoking. And then it's the macrosystem, like the teen culture. Smoking is cool, like in many Western countries. But as you know, in China, smoking is not as usual as in most Western countries, because in our middle school, in our high school, there are many strict rules. And we're not going to think smoking is cool. If someone is smoking, like the teachers and the peers, we're most likely to think they are bad students. So there are not many adolescents smoking in China. Okay, so it's a chronic system, like change in risk of smoking uptake according to age and stage of individual. Like mental health is not a steady status, it can change. And it's a dynamic process. It's always in the process of changing, developing. And most people's mental status is not like completely healthy or mental illness. It's like in a gray zone. We all have some mental problems, or we all have some mental complex. We'll have something that we fear, we're afraid of, and something that can easily influence us and others. We'll have some traumas. It's normal, but most people, if we can handle them. We can handle these problems, and we can use many coping mechanisms to face these problems. And eventually, we can still normally go to school, we can have our daily life. So people with mental health is not like always in a good mood. It's like we can regulate ourselves, we can regulate our emotions. And in the face of risk, in the face of like the difficulties in our life, we can regulate ourselves and keep in a good status in our life, in our work, and in our study. So here is the mental health continuum model. Like what I said earlier, mental health is not a steady status. It's a dynamic process. It's like continuum. It's like a spectrum. So a healthy person is, we have normal fluctuations in mood. We have up and downs in our mood. It's fine. We all have up and downs. And take things in stride. We have a good sense of humor, consistent performance, physically, socially active, confident in self and others, drinking in moderation. And the next step is reacting. If we are in the reacting stage, we'll have some mind of nervousness, irritability, sadness, overwhelmed, displays sarcasm, procrastination, forgetfulness, trouble sleeping, low energy, muscle tension, headaches, or missing an occasional class. So it's a decrease in our social function, decreased social activity, drinking regularly or in binges to manage stress. So in this stage, it's better if we can recognize limits, take breaks, just have some rest, identify problems early, and seek support. And next stage is injured. So it's going to be more severe. We have anxiety, anger, pervasive sadness, cheerfulness, hopelessness, which will have a sense of worthlessness, negative attitude towards everything, almost everything, difficulty concentrating, trouble making decisions, decreased performance, and regularly missing classes and deadlines or overwork. So you can see a more severe decrease in the social function. The social function is a very important standard for measuring mental health. Avoidance, social withdrawal increased use of alcohol, hard to control. And in this status, when turned into our own signs of distress, we can talk to someone, ask for help, make self-care a priority. So the most severe status is mental illness, like excessive anxiety, panic attacks, cannot feel sleep, stay asleep, constant fatigue, illness, absent from social events, classes, or even have suicide thoughts, intent, or unusual sensory experiences. So if we are in this status, it's better if we can seek professional care, like going to see psychiatric or going to seek help for the psychotherapy services and follow recommendations, or even take the medication. 那么这是一个关于心理健康的一个模型心理健康它并不是一个固定的这样一个状态，很多时候呢，我们都是在中间的某一个点就像一个光谱一样 spectrum。那么这是一些可以帮助我们去判断我们现在在哪个状态的这样一些条目。那么不同的状态，它会对应不同的应对的方式解决的方式，可以帮助我们去鉴别目前自己是一个什么样的状态。So the healthy coping and reacting, these two stages, we can self-care and social support. And if things go more severe, like poor mental health, injured or mentally ill, it's better if we can seek help for professional care. Okay, it's time for a break, right? We have already 45
yes, Laoshi.
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Laoshi, can you share this PPT in our WeChat group? We have already created a group.
Yeah.
You are in this group.
I will share all the slides in our WeChat group.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And this class
So
is
now
very interesting.
let's take 10 minutes break. OK。
好的。
Yo, Gaza.
Is everyone back?
Yes, Loshi.
Yes, love, yes.
Okay. Now we're going to continue our class. And if we find ourselves in the status of injured and mental ill, or not that severe, just we have some problems that we can't handle by ourselves. So how do we ask for help? The first is self-regulation, self-help. Many people may think of self-help like some usual things we will do to distract ourselves when we are in distress, like we are going to play some video games, we are gonna like always clicking TikTok or Twitter or the YouTube, like watching a massive amount of series, or like just hang out with our friends or drinking or smoking. All this kind of behavior is not self-help, it's just distraction, because we are just stop thinking about our problem, but not dealing with the problem itself, right? So the self-help is like, the first is to face the problem, not just to escape from them. We can search for some psychological books, some articles online, or go into some support groups, or we can talk about our problems, our troubles with our family, with the friends we trust, or other people that we trust and love. And they can give us advice and provide support. But for more professional help, you can just go to the 心理辅导员. I'm not sure how to translate it in English. Can you understand the term 心理辅导员? Do you have the 心理辅导员 in your school?
No, we don't.
No, Loshi. Is it mental health care center? Loshi?
Okay, would you repeat that?
Yeah,
I'm not
is
sure
it
if
mental health care center in our school? Something like
Yeah, yes.
we know that,
there
but
is-
we never went there.
Okay, I will show you the psychological counseling center. I will show you the information and the picture and the ways to contact them
All right,
later. Okay. I'm one of the psychological counselor in the center, but I assume most of you are not in China, right? Because of COVID-19, you're in your home country, right? That's why we are going to have the online class instead of face-to-face lecture. But you can still, like, if you have some mental health problems that you can handle yourself, you can go to the local community psychological service, or you can call the number we have a telephone number in our school that we can, it's like a hotline. You can call anytime during the work hours. And also the psychological counselor, they have received professional training, so it can help us to deal with our problems. But they don't have the credentials to like prescribe or just diagnosis. So if you're going to diagnose if you have mental illness or what kind of mental illness it is, we're going to the hospital. The psychological therapist or counselor, they don't have the right to diagnose. So it can be very confusing, like psychiatrists and clinical health psychologists, psychotherapists and counselor. What's the differences and similarities between them? The number of aligned but distinct professional roles in the broad field of mental health can be very confusing. The differences are often based around, the first is the level of professional training, and the second is whether professional title is regulated, and the third is the degree of emphasis on biomedical model, and the fourth is the level of severity of mental health problem. 第一个是他们的不同在于受到的专业训练不一样啊。第二个在于，那么他们的学历的教育以及他们的头衔，professional title， 它就是头衔。然后第三个呢是他们对于这个生物和医学模型的强调的程度。比如说 psychiatrist 就是精神病学家包括精神科的医生，那么他们是非常强调这个 biomedical model 的，非常强调生理的作用，所以他们去诊断一个心理问题，很多时候可能不会跟你进行非常长时间的谈话，而是直接会给你开药。那么第四个呢level of severity of mental health problem 是你的这个心理健康问题的严重的程度严重程度 level of severity。那么最严重的，当然我们是要去寻求精神病学家的帮助，医生的帮助精神科医生 psychiatrist， 然后呢是 clinical and health psychologist， 然后是 psychotherapist， 最轻程度的就是 counselor。counselor 呢，它和那个 psychotherapist 的区别在于 counselor， 它可以去我们日常生活当中的一些困扰，可能还没有到心理问题的程度。Our daily life distress counselor。那么更严重一些的呢，比如说mental health problems, or we have if you have depression, anxiety, this kind of emotional distress， 更严重一些的呢是 psychotherapist。那么他还可以协助这个 psychiatrists 一起去治疗这个精神障碍。Psychiatrists and psychotherapists, they often combine to work together to treat a mental illness. So, psychiatrists, they are medically trained. 他们通常需要一个医学的头衔doctor, they're doctors. And they also have biomedical knowledge and skills. They are trained with biological knowledge and skills. And they can do prescribing and diagnosis. And they often deal with severe mental illness instead of the daily life distress. It has a regulated title, And a clinical health psychologist. They also have degree in psychology. And mostly they are required of doctoral postgraduate qualification. And they approach mental health problems by the perspective of biopsychosocial emphasis. And also across the lifespan, they investigate problems across the lifespan, are not just a specific area or a specific age. They don't have the right to prescribe and diagnosis, because they are not doctors, they are just psychologists. They are unlikely to prioritize diagnosis, and they can deal with severe and moderate conditions. And psychotherapist and counselor. We often talk about psychotherapist and counselor at the same time, but they have have many similarities, just some differences, slight differences. They may or may not have degree, it's not strictly required, and they're likely to have received skilled training. They're suited to mild or slight mental health conditions and daily life distress. They're suited to adult population due to unregulated title. They often deal with stressful life events rather than mental illness. And anyone can utilize these titles. Everyone can call themselves psychotherapist or counselor if they received a related training. So it's not necessary that a psychotherapist and a counselor have a degree of psychology. 好，那么这个心理治疗师和心理咨询师呢，他们不一定需要有心理学的学位，但是一定要去经过专业的训练，通常呢是去处理我们日常的烦恼，而不是这个精神障碍啊。但是他们两个的区别就在于 differences between psychotherapist and counselor. I've already talked about it in the previous slide. Like psychotherapists can work with psychiatrists to treat mental illness, but psychotherapists, they cannot alone treat mental illness. They have to combine to work with psychiatrists. So what is psychological counseling? Psychological counseling is a collaborative effort between the counselor and the client. So the use of language is different too. In psychotherapy, we often use the terms like the therapist and the client. Now we use the counselor and the client. I made a mistake. In psychotherapy, we use the term the therapist and the patient, And in psychological counseling, we use the term like the counselor and client. It's a very big difference. That aims to help enhance and promote the positive growth, well-being, and mental health of the client using psychological principles. So in which situation I may seek for psychological counseling? If you are dealing with severe or long-term stress, have symptoms with no physical explanation, or you have been diagnosed mental illness or symptoms and the doctor recommended psychotherapy as a treatment along with medication. Okay, like what I said, psychological counseling and psychotherapy, they are often misused terms and they're often overlapped. So now I also use the psychotherapy here, but just the slight differences between these two. So the basic ethics of psychological counseling. The first is non-maleficence and beneficence. It's avoiding actions that cause harm, working for the good for the individual and society by promoting mental health and well-being. The psychological counselor, all the things he or she do is for the benefit of the client. If he or she do something to harm the client, it's against the law, and the client can actually 去起诉 or I'm not sure how to translate it in English. It will be a crime if the psychological counselor do harm to the client. Avoidance of dual relationship. The counselors cannot be friends or lovers or develop other intimate relationships with their former clients. Especially the romantic relationship is strictly prohibited. Confidentiality and privacy. So all the information in counseling is kept between the counselor and the client. There are some exceptions, like if it deals with some events that may harm the client, him or herself, or other people, then the counselor made contact with other institutions. So the school psychological counseling service is free service. The price is very low and it's already paid by school. So if you seek for the school service, it's completely free. So we have professional team that the counselors of Changsha University of Science and Technology are all with professional counselor credentials or a psychology-related degree. However, the confidentiality is limited in school. The information concerning mental illness may be reported to tutors, but also we will discuss it with the student. If the student are not willing to tell the status of mental illness with teachers, it's okay, we'll discuss it. And to what extent the student is willing to tell his or her status to the teachers. So the psychological counseling center in our school, in 云塘校区，在大学生活动中心the telephone number 85258525. We also have a QQ number that can book appointment. 那么咨询的时间的 timetable 那么是全天开放 it opens every day except for the holidays. 那么通常是下午的2点到5点和晚上的7点到9点这是我们咨询室的一些照片Here are some pictures of the counseling center of our school. 好，那么现在呢，我给大家来看一个视频就是有关心理咨询到底是什么。Now I'm going to play a video for you about psychotherapy and psychological counseling. Please. Can everyone see the screen? See the video now?
No, Lasse. Your screen is paused. Yeah, now it's okay.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, Lasse.
Okay.
Bernice has issues. And sure, we all do, but hers are getting out of hand.
Can you hear the voice of the video?
At times she goes through bouts of depression.
Is it fine?
Yes, Lauscher.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Bernice has issues. And sure, we all do, but hers are getting out of hand. At times she goes through bouts of depression that make it hard for her to even get out of bed. Sometimes she suffers from serious anxiety around things like test taking, flying, lots of things, all of which are brutalizing her self-worth and affecting her performance in work and life. She's ready to get professional help. And lucky for Bernice, she has a lot of options. Psychotherapy, perhaps the predominant type of psychological treatment, involves a therapist using a range of techniques to help a patient overcome troubles, gain insight, and achieve personal growth. I know that there are all kinds of perspectives on the human mind and lots of different philosophies on how to approach it. So it may not come as a surprise that there's also a variety of ways that experts analyze and treat ailments of the mind. They each create their own kind of experience for a person seeking help, and to be honest, some approaches are better suited for treating certain psychological conditions than others. So with Bernice as our guide, we can see how each of these techniques works, and maybe in the end we can get her out of bed feeling more calm and confident and back in the swing of things. He's back. If we're going to talk about psychotherapy, we've got to start with Freud, right? Psychotherapy, you'll recall, is commonly grouped into four major schools or orientations: the psychodynamic, existential humanistic, behavioral, and cognitive therapies. Freud's famous lay on the couch and talk psychoanalysis is just one of several related therapies in the psychodynamic family, and it was basically the first. In essence, Freud assumed that we didn't really know or at least fully understand ourselves or our motivations. So psychoanalysis served as a kind of historical reconstruction that helped patients access repressed feelings and memories and unconscious thoughts by using free association and dream analysis with helpful interpretations from the therapist until they gained some self-insight. As you free associate, talk about your past, and answer questions, your psychoanalyst picks up on sensitive subjects around which you appear to show resistance, mental blocks that keep you from your consciousness because they cause you anxiety. The psychoanalyst notes these resistances and offers interpretations of what might be going on to help promote insight. So if Bernice was visiting a psychoanalyst talking about her day, the therapist might say, "Tell me more about that dream with the birds with broken wings." Or he might point out resistance, like, "I noticed that when you mention your fear of flying, you tend to bring up your childhood, but you never talk about your mother. Why might that be?" The therapist points out what may be unconscious themes to coax them into the light. Maybe Bernice needs to deal with a traumatic childhood memory, or the fact that her mom ran away with a pilot or something to understand the roots of her fear. Today, traditional psychoanalysis is less common. Critics have pointed out that psychoanalytic interpretations aren't easy to prove or disprove, which is a problem when you're trying to take the scientific approach. Plus, psychoanalysis tends to involve many sessions, sometimes 4 or 5 a week, over a long period of time, and health insurance just won't cover it anymore. Therapists who have branched off from the psychoanalytic school fall into the psychodynamic family, which includes not just Freudian theory, but also ideas from Carl Jung, Alfred Adler, Karen Horney, and others. The terms psychoanalytic and psychodynamic are often confused, but you can think of psychoanalysis as Freud's particular baby, while psychodynamic theory is really the family descended from that baby. Similar to psychoanalysis, psychodynamic therapy focuses on helping people gain insight on the impact of unconscious internal forces, early relationships, and critical childhood experiences. But these therapies don't dwell on the id and the ego and superego, or all the sex stuff, at least not like traditional psychoanalysis does. And not all psychologists are interested in rooting through your deep unconscious recesses like it was your underwear drawer. Some therapies focus more on conscious material and believe the present and the future are worth more attention than the past. These include the existential humanistic therapies championed by Carl Rogers, Viktor Frankl, Fritz Perls, and others, who emphasize people's inherent capacity for making rational choices, achieving self-acceptance, and attaining their maximum potential. Like the psychodynamic school, existential humanistic therapy is still insight-oriented, but it's much more about promoting growth rather than curing illness. Instead of calling folks patients, humanistic therapies refer to those they help as clients, or just, people. In the mid-1900s, Rogers developed a humanistic technique called client-centered therapy. He encouraged therapists to help their clients by providing an empathetic, genuine, and accepting environment, and using active listening where the therapist echoes and clarifies what their clients are saying and feeling. Rogers believed these techniques helped to provide a safe, non-judgmental place where clients could accept themselves, feel valued, and work towards self-actualization. But other therapists in this school brought in more somber topics. Searles, Frunkel, and others incorporated the existentialist perspective, understanding anxiety and limits to personal growth is driven by the human impulse to deny the fact that, let's face it, we're all going to die. Sounds a little grim, but much like the existentialist philosophers, these theorists thought to maximize human potential and meaning in life. In the face of those scary existential fears, helping people access their genuine selves. So, let's say Bernice sees an existentialist humanistic therapist and talks about her depression and how it's keeping her from living a full life. By focusing on the present, this therapist might suggest that Bernice is afraid and avoidant of her true emotions, the bad and scary ones as well as the good ones, which is why she feels emotionally lifeless and drained. So her therapist might say more about the feelings that you're having right now, in this moment, as you talk about your depression. The therapist would listen without interpreting, at least at first, and help Bernice understand that she was being heard and accepted, which hopefully would give her comfort and strength to begin dealing with the tough emotions that she's been avoiding. Now, if Bernice were to make her appointments with a behavior therapist, she'd experience quite a different session. Behavior therapists argue that simply knowing that you're afraid of flying, for example, won't help you from freaking out at the thought of getting on a plane. Instead, these therapists suggest that the problem behavior is the actual issue, and the best way to get rid of unwanted automatic behavior is to replace it with more functional behavior through learning and conditioning. In other words, behavior therapy aims to change behavior in order to change emotions and moods. Behavior therapy is rooted in the experiments of Ivan Pavlov and his classically conditioned dogs that drool at the sound of a bell, and work by E.L. Thorndike and B.F. Skinner on operant conditioning, or changing behavior by using positive or negative reinforcement. So say Bernice is seeing a behavior therapist because of an intense fear of flying. We know her fear is keeping her from personal and career goals, like going to conferences and vacationing to Baja, but sometimes it even affects her ability to look up at a blue sky or flip through a travel magazine. Her therapist might use counter-conditioning to evoke new responses to the stimuli that trigger someone's behavior, or she may use other behavior therapy methods like exposure, systematic desensitization, and aversive conditioning to help Bernice modify her reactions and behavior, so she doesn't dwell on having Bernice relive old memories or helping herself actualize. She just wants to fix the problem of behavior. Aversive conditioning is less common and usually involves pairing an unpleasant stimulus with the targeted behavior. The classic example is giving someone with an alcohol problem a pill that makes them puke when they drink. Far more common and better studied, the exposure therapy treated anxiety by having a person face their fears by exposing them to real or imagined situations that they typically avoid. Systematic desensitization is a type of exposure therapy that associates a relaxed state of mind with gradually increasing anxiety-inducing stimuli. Taking Bernice from, say, just thinking about flying to looking at photos of planes in the air to sitting on a grounded plane to eventually soaring in the skies for real. Behavior therapy works pretty well in treating specific fears and problems like phobias, and it can also work for people with generalized anxiety disorder or major depression, but it often needs a boost. And we can get that boost from the cognitive therapies, the kind that teach people new, more adaptive ways of thinking. Cognitive therapy focuses more on what people think rather than what they do, assuming that if you can change a self-defeating thought, you can change the related behavior. This is the approach used by founding American cognitive therapist Aaron Beck. He and his colleagues pioneered the Socratic questioning method to help clients reverse destructive and catastrophic beliefs about themselves, the world, or the future at large, such as everything that could possibly go wrong will go wrong. Bernice has a big test coming up, like a really big all-or-nothing end-of-the-year exam. She's freaking out, and her anxiety around the test already has her depressed, imagining that she'll fail. If she bombs the test, she fears that her dreams of getting into the graduate program she wants will be dashed and her life will be over. Classic catastrophic thinking. A cognitive therapist would actively discuss all of this with her, challenging her thinking along the way, and in the end, help Bernice re-examine her assumptions about what's going to happen if she does fail. Like, the world will not end, and she will not utterly fail in life, helping her work toward thinking more positive thoughts about herself and her future. A cognitive therapist helps patients understand that changing what we say to ourselves is a very effective way to cope with our anxieties and modify our behavior. In other words, it really is the thought that counts. Not surprisingly, the cognitive and behavior schools have joined forces frequently enough that cognitive behavior therapies are typically considered a single school, and a lot of therapists use integrative approaches that try to use the best elements of all of these schools of thought. But all these different psychotherapies don't always mean being alone with your therapist and your thoughts. Most of them can be done in groups, too. Group therapy fosters the therapeutic benefits you get from interacting with other people. Not only does it help with the social aspects of mental health, but it also may remind clients that they're not alone. In a similar way, family therapy treats a family as a system and views an individual's problem behaviors as being influenced by or directed at other family members. Family therapists work with multiple family members to heal relationships, improve insight and communication, and mobilize communal resources. So, the big question remains, does psychotherapy work? You're going to have to wait till next time to find out, because that is what we will be talking about, along with a look at the biomedical approach to therapy. For now, you've learned about the major types of psychotherapy. These include psychodynamic therapy and Freud's famous psychoanalysis, existential humanist therapy and Rogers' client-centered focus, and behavior and cognitive therapies. We also took a quick look at group and family therapy. Thanks for watching, especially to all of our Subbable subscribers.
Okay, so this video provides a deeper look at the psychotherapy and psychological counseling, and introduces 4 major kinds of psychotherapy, like psychodynamic therapy, existential humanist therapy, behavior therapy, cognitive therapy. So at last, the homework of this week is, the first is deciding on your group. The group member is, let me see how many students in our class. Is like 60%. So the number, the group members, like 5 or 6 people in a group, okay? 5 or 6 members. And then you're going to select your group leader. And the search is thinking of the name and slogan of the group. I'm going to upload a document in the WeChat group. Once you decided on your group members, your group leader, your group name, and group slogan, you're going to write them in the document and send it to me, right? The group leader will going to send the document to me, right? Or directly to the group. If you think it's fine, you can send it to me or into the WeChat group. Is it clear?
Yes, Lausche.
Okay.
Yes, Lausche.
If you have any questions, just feel free to ask them in the WeChat group, okay? So, what is the use of the group? In our last lesson, the group is going to do a group presentation. I will talk about this in more details in our next lesson, okay? So next week, I'm going to tell you more about what you are going to do in your group, okay? So the homework for the first week is deciding on your group. You are going to work together to finish a project. Okay. So this end of lesson. Is there any questions about the content of this lesson and or?
Hello, Laushi.
Okay.
We watched a video. So could you please tell us that the person's name that we can find on YouTube or Yuko?
Did you mean the video I played?
Yes,
If
yes,
you want
yes,
the name of the video, okay,
Yeah,
I will.
yes, yes.
Okay, it named a crash course. I will send it to the group.
Hello, Laushi.
Yes.
How do you collect our attendance?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat your question?
Yes. How do you collect our attendance in your class? Like on board meetings or other ways? We have to send you our
You can use
student ID.
anywhere, bro. You can use anywhere.
You mean you want to know how to send your homework?
No, teacher, class attendance.
No,
That
Laushi,
means
our
attendance
attendance.
in class.
Attendance.
Yeah.
I don't have the list of students in our class, so I don't know how to like find attendance. Is the class manager or have the list of students in our class?
Hello, guys. The class monitors are the one who will send the class attendance to the teacher. Do you understand, guys? Because this Tencent meeting is automatically saved everyone's attendance. So no need to write your student number on the side.
Different major students, so it's better you can do it by individual way.
The monitor that created this link, this Tencent ID is the one that will be responsible for this
That's why
class.
I just said it's better. It will be done individually. That you are like a civil, that mechanical, they do it individual way because
no. If one monitor is okay, he will just send us the data. You know, one person is okay. Like
because
our
other
I'm the one.
This one is not possible because each individual monitor and the students from civil come for mechanical monitor. So I think the monitors can work together. The monitor can send that together.
No, listen. This is the best way. Last semester we did the same. Like our food culture class, and it was created by Francisco. So he just sent to me all our class teacher. Our class teacher will just take our class and student numbers.
So, what am I supposed to do?
Yes, I will talk with the teacher.
Okay.
I will talk with you on the WeChat. Okay.
Okay. Is there any other questions?
No, please. Just the class was fun. It was nice. Thank you very much.
Plus, I have some. I will ask you individually the WeChat.
Okay. So, if you have any more questions, just contact me via WeChat. Okay.
Okay, Laushi.
Today's class is over. Thank you very much for listening. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you for speaking. Thank you very much too. Bye.
Bye-bye.